South Bank to the North Bank here, where there used to be a market called Hungerford Market, and one time rivaling Covent Garden Market. This previous the pedestrian bridge, and only pedestrian bridge, was designed by Isambard King de Brunel, and it used to be a very beautiful suspension bridge, replaced in 1847 though by the present railway bridge. On our left-hand side, a little bit further, the London Eye, built to mark the millennium, the year 2000, by a joint design team, Julia Barfield and David Marks, both architects, and are finally designing the London Eye on our left, and finally placed there, by the way, in 2001. They had trouble raising it. At that time, in fact, it was the highest Ferris wheel in the world, at 135 metres high. Although today the London Eye is the third highest Ferris wheel in the world. There is one at 160 metres high in Singapore, and another higher in Las Vegas. And although it's only the third highest Ferris wheel, it is the highest cantilevered Ferris wheel in the world, because of the way it's held up from behind, which is called cantilevering. And they do hold a marriage licence here. One of the 32 pods representing the 32 boroughs or areas of London is reserved for weddings, and in the wedding pod right at the very top, one makes one's marriage vows. One says "I do," and then it's all downhill after there. And a little bit further on the right, Big Ben. This is world famous clock tower, is known at 96.5 metres high. Big Ben, the highest clock tower in the world, and designed by Augustus Pugin, built between 1840 and 1870. Big Ben, the name of the bell inside the tower which strikes the hour bell, largest of the 5 bells in the tower, which weighs 13.5 tonnes, which is very probably named after a boxer in Victorian London whose name was Benjamin Cornt, who was 6'4" in height, and whose nickname was in fact Big Ben. The official name now, though, for Big Ben is in fact the Elizabeth Tower, named after Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, to mark the Queen's Diamond Jubilee in the year 2012. Heavily encased in scaffolding today, major refurbishment works being carried out. Possibly because when the House of Commons was founded in 1295, comprising of knights from the shires and burgesses from towns in communities in the countryside where it's green. On the right, County Hall, built in 1922, Ralph Knott the architect, housing here previously the headquarters of the Great London Council, or GLC, looking after the running of London. Also the office of the Mayor of London, Ken Livingstone, Mayor of London, here in the 1980s. In 1986, though, the Great London Council was disbanded to be replaced at County Hall centre stage today by such august and important institutions as Shrek's Adventure and the London Dungeon, and behind the London Aquarium, further behind the Marriott Hotel. On the left, the buildings with the green roofs, the Ministry of Defence headquarters, built between 1939 and 1951, work delayed during the Second World War, housing headquarters of the Army and the Royal Navy and the Royal Air Force, called an iceberg building, as it goes further below ground than above ground, and then connected below ground by tunnels to government ministries up and down Whitehall on our left. And by the way, actually that's a state secret, so if you could be careful not to tell anyone about that. And a little bit further on the left, the buildings of the Pointed Roofs, Royal Horse Guards Hotel, completed in 1899, at which time it was called Whitehall Place, and partly occupied by headquarters of the Liberal Club, also by government offices between the First World War, Waterloo Bridge to Ladies Bridge. No extra long lunch breaks, you see. On the left, Somerset House, designed by William Chambers in 1776 for the Royal Navy. They used to row their boats straight onto the central archway below the green domed roof. The River Thames used to go right up to the walls of Somerset House, and inside they would attend to their Royal Naval Archives. No longer possible for boats to be rowed under Somerset House, though, after the embankment was built all the way on the left-hand side, further onto the river, from 1864 to 1874, by Sir Joseph Bazalgette, engineer, supplying below a new sewage system and underground railway system for London, and the roadway above where we see traffic today. On the right-hand side, the modern office building, the ITV Tower, from where they broadcast television programmes, including The X Factor. And you might be interested to know, a few years ago, I myself went for an audition for The X Factor, but I'm sorry to have to report, I'm afraid I didn't get through in the end. But never mind though, the way out of your suspense. In fact, the letters in WHARF, W-H-A-R-F, standing for, wait for it, warehousing at Riverfront. Very useful information for you all there. Also, though, getting into trouble with this building for advertising with letters OXO on their tower. Nobody's supposed to advertise products on the River Thames, being a royal river under Crown control. And they were actually taken to court over this, and they said, we're very sorry, we didn't mean to advertise. Pure chance the windows in the tower just so happened to look like letters OXO, name of a company. Really, this is purely a coincidence. In the end, they weren't punished. Today the building is occupied by the Coin Street Housing Association, with a fish restaurant behind the windows at the top, operated by Jasper Conran. Blackfriars Bridge, now designed by Joseph Cubitt, opened in 1869 by Queen Victoria, named after Blackfriars Abbey, formerly demolished in the 1560s on the north bank to our left, giving rise to the name of this area, Blackfriars, which Joseph Cubitt had in mind when designing the bridge to look a bit like inside an abbey. So above the piers we have columns like pillars inside an abbey, and above those columns we have pulpits, as you would find in an abbey church, below which birds, this side of the bridge, freshwater birds like kingfishers and swans. The other side, saltwater birds like cormorants and seagulls. The reason why freshwater birds one side and saltwater this is because at this point in the Thames, freshwater flowing downriver means saltwater flowing upriver. Now Blackfriars railway station above us, the only railway station in the world, Blackfriars, to be built on a bridge over a river at a cost of £700 million a few years ago. On the left, the dome of St Paul's Cathedral, weighing 64,500 tonnes. Second in size after the dome of St Peter's in Rome. St Paul's, designed by master architect Christopher Wren and built between 1675 and 1710 on the site of a former St Paul's Cathedral, here though burnt down in the fire of London of 1666. On the right, the building with the tall chimney, the Tate Modern, designed by Sir Charles Gilbert Scott, who also gave us Waterloo Bridge and the Ladies' Bridge. Opened by Her Majesty the Queen in 1963 as a power station. The Queen also opened the building a second time in the year 2000, when to mark the millennium, the building was refurbished as an arts gallery, the Tate Modern. Therefore, the Tate Modern is the only building in the world to have been opened twice by the Queen. The Millennium Footbridge by Arup Foster and Partners, again opened by the Queen in the year 2000 to mark the millennium, very quickly closed again though, found to wobble, and nicknamed the Wobbly Bridge. Lord Norman Foster then charging an extra £4 million to redesign the bridge so it wouldn't wobble, even though his firm had been involved in the original design. He said, "It's not my fault the bridge wobbles, it's the way Londoners walk." On the right, Shakespeare's Globe, the white building with a thatched roof. We have Sam Wanamaker, American actor, to thank for this building, who, when arriving in London in 1949, was very surprised to find here no monument to the Globe Theatre, where here in the 16th and 17th centuries was where Shakespearean plays were produced, and he decided to make this life's work to recreate the Globe Theatre. Today, Shakespeare's Globe, completed in 1997, 3 years after Sam Wanamaker died, though he lived long enough to see work started on Shakespeare's Globe, which is the only building in London with a thatched roof. Thatched is otherwise banned in London after the fire of London. Southwark Bridge, one of London's quietest or least used bridges, leading to on the right to Southwark, one of London's oldest boroughs, where here in the 16th and 17th centuries was Theatreland of its day, with theatres like the Rose Theatre and the Globe Theatre, and therefore playwrights such as William Shakespeare used to live on our right-hand side in Southwark. And William Shakespeare also from time to time used to drink in the Anchor pub, a little bit further on the right where we see the red window frames, where there has been a pub on this site for 800 years, and in one of these earlier pubs on this very site here, it was that William Shakespeare was barred. And a little bit further on the right, the grey walls of Winchester Walls, named after the Bishops of Winchester, who in 1176 were granted a royal charter allowing them their own police force in Southwark. They also had their own prison called the Clink. Effectively, in medieval times, the Bishops of Winchester controlled Southwark on our right. Again on the right, a replica of Sir Francis Drake's vessel, the Golden Hind, in which Sir Francis Drake travelled the world from 1577 to 1580. Upon returning to England, Sir Francis Drake was knighted aboard the Golden Hind in Deptford near Greenwich by Queen Elizabeth I. Soon to emerge again on the right, Southwark Cathedral, where here early in the 12th century a priory was founded by two Norman knights, while later in the 12th century Augustinian monks founded St Thomas's Hospital, dedicated to St Thomas a Becket of Canterbury, killed in 1170. St Thomas's Hospital had to move to Waterloo, where it is today under Florence Nightingale. London Bridge, now built in 1973, replacing a former London Bridge built in 1831, which was then sold to Mr. McCulloch from America and reassembled in Arizona over a man-made lake. Soon to emerge on the left, the monument, a gilded basket of golden flames above a 202 feet high column designed by Sir Christopher Wren and his friend Robert Tugate, scientist. 202 feet high because 202 feet away on the 2nd of September 1666, the fire of London started in a bakery in Pudding Lane and proceeded to burn down 4/5 of the city of London on our left. On the right, the Shard, tallest building in the United Kingdom, 87 stories high, designed by Renzo Piano, Italian architect, who was given an apartment here as part of his payment package. It was going to be 88 floors high, but that's another story. On the left, Billingsgate Fish Market, designed by Horace Jones in 1780, recently refurbished by Lord Richard Rogers. Today used for wedding ceremonies and business conferences. Elton John at one time having a party there. The most famous person to work at Billingsgate Fish Market as a fish porter, and Mr. Micklewhite, later to be known by his stage name, Sir Michael Caine. On the right, HMS Belfast, Second World War battleship, built in 1938 by Harland and Wolff shipbuilders and shipyards in Belfast in Northern Ireland. During the Second World War, used for the protection of North Atlantic convoys, delivering munitions to Murmansk in northern Russia. Travelling at 35 knots, we ourselves will travel close to this speed when we go beyond Tower Bridge, giving us a feeling of how fast 35 knots actually is. Third on the left, the Tower of London, built by William I, William the Conqueror, who invaded at the Battle of Hastings in 1066. Very quickly taking control over this country, building the tower a little bit later in 1078, just outside the London city walls, partly as a retreat from Londoners. And the round tower behind, first of the 4 towers built at the corners. This was the tallest building in London when firstly built here. The tower built from stone from Caen or Caen in Normandy in northern France, where William I came from. William II lived here, the second son to William I, William the Conqueror, nicknamed William Rufus, who came to the throne in 1087. Many other kings as well, such as King John, more notoriously known to prison though, especially under King Henry VIII, his second wife, for example, Anne Boleyn, taken prisoner here in 1536, taken to Traitor's Gate on our left, inside awaiting her fate to be executed for treason. On the right, the round glass building, City Hall, designed by Lord Norman Foster, where today Sadiq Khan, the Mayor of London, has his office. No stairs there, and you can go up and down using ramps in a spiral shape. Tower Bridge, now opened in 1894, considered the world's most beautiful bridge. The walkways are the tops of the towers. Today is for wedding ceremonies and business conferences. Sir John Rolfe Barry was the engineer who designed the central bridges to be raised originally by steam engines. Today, though, these aren't raised by oil hydraulics, but the original steam engines are still seen here as an exhibit. The style of Tower Bridge is French Gothic, and the main purpose of the walkways at the tops of the towers is to resist the weight of the curved girders either side of the towers, which are curved because they are representing suspension bridges. Very shortly, we are going to start speeding up, so do hold on to the bars ahead of you, and if anyone feels unwell or uncomfortable at any time, do raise your hands to let us know you are feeling unwell or uncomfortable. And a little bit later there will be a photographer taking photographs of us from a building with 2 green domed roofs. This will be underneath a green domed roof closer towards us. We'll see a flag with a yellow cross on a black background. On the right, you might like to wave to Alan Sugar now. Lord Alan Sugar lives here. This is Lord Alan Sugar's vessel on the right-hand side. And a little bit further on the right-hand side, we'll see where there's just a little bit further on the left-hand side, rather, we can see a building where it says Oliver's Wharf. And you'll be able to see a round glass pagoda facing the river. And behind that round glass pagoda, a little bit further on the left, we have there the home of Helen Mirren, the actress. And a little bit further on the right-hand side, where we can see a red crane, dark red crane, and we have their former wharves. And between the 2 major wharves, there's a wharf slightly behind, where we see a larger expanse of windows. And behind those windows there, we have there the home of Peter Stewart, Patrick Stewart, correction, a Shakespearean actor, by the way. He starred in Star Trek, shot Luke the Card. Is that, by the way, you may be interested. And so we're speeding up now, so do hold on to the bars ahead of you. And if anyone feels unwell or uncomfortable at any time, do raise your hands, let us know you are feeling unwell or uncomfortable. And a little bit later, we'll see very shortly now the building with the 2 green domed roofs. It won't be on the right-hand side as we pass it. And there we'll see a flag with a yellow cross on a black background. And there we might like to wave to the photographer. Let us know when it's about to happen in just a few moments. Thank you so much.
Hey!
So they're building us a view, the two green domed roofs, a little bit further on the right hand side. And you'll be able to see a flag there with a yellow cross on a black background on the right at the third story balcony. And you might like to get ready to wave. The photographer will be taking photographs in just a few moments. We keep our heads out on the right hand side. Here he is, two-way to right now, two-way to right, two-way to right. Keep waving, 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 keep waving. Thank you so much.
I feel panicked. I'm an emergency. I might pull the cord.
Architects Christopher Wren also gave us St Paul's Cathedral and designed at the request of Queen Mary II. Joint monarchs with King William III, and she in 1694 seen the effects of the Battle of La Hogue, a naval battle in which sailors serving with the Royal Navy who had been very badly injured were afterwards seen simply begging in the streets, and she requested a hospital be built here for them. And the buildings were firstly called the Seamen's Hospital. The very first batch of them who arrived were called pensioners, no longer serving with the Royal Navy, arriving in 1705. The building's finally finished around 1750 though, so work's taking a long time. It's carried out entirely on a charitable basis. The pensioners finally leaving here in 1869 to be replaced in 1873 by the Royal Naval College, who are hence called the Old Royal Naval College today. And the Old Royal Naval College are leaving finally though in 1997 due to circumstances beyond their control, to replace though in 1999 by Greenwich University and Trinity College of Music. And they are very worthwhile a visit to these very beautiful Baroque buildings, and built from Portland stone, actually, from quarries in Portland near the Isle of Wight. Rather intriguingly, self-cleaning stone, so when it rains the stones are cleaned by the rain, as you can see by looking at the buildings here. But there's a lot of filming being carried out all the time, and the Pirates of the Caribbean with Johnny Depp was of course filmed here, as you may know. A little bit further on the right hand side, a building with a green pinnacled roof and a clock facing the river. Trinity Arms Houses, completed in 1619 for merchant seamen to stay there in their retirement. Today anyone can put their name on a list to be considered for retirement in the Royal Borough of Greenwich on the right hand side. Millennium, the year 2000, when it was called the Dome, and marking the millennium, the time thing involved with the dimensions, 365 metres in diameter. Would anyone like to guess what this represents in terms of time? Any guesses?
Sunday.
So that represents 365 days of the year. And would anyone also like to guess how many yellow masts we have on top? 12, very good. Of course, representing 12 months of the year there. And would also anyone like to guess how high the dome is itself? Again, with the time thing involved, in metres, if you will. Any guesses? 355? Good Good try, not a bit less than that actually, but very good try there. With a time theme involved again. Any other guesses? In metres, if you will. No. 52 metres high, representing 52 weeks of the year. But good tries there. The whole the other side to allow for a ventilation shaft or Blackwall Tunnel, which passes right underneath the building, rather prevent London from flooding from very high levels of water from the Thames estuary going up towards London behind us. And London has flooded many times as a result of such weather conditions called surge tides. And some dates for this happening in the past, by the way, 1215, 1242 and 1515. In fact, Samuel Pepys, London diarist, wrote about such weather conditions causing floods in Westminster. And, but work started here in 1974, works completed in October 1982. HBM, or London.Shot Chappie, who were later to raise the London Eye, were very seriously involved in this project, providing 9 concrete piers, in between which you have 10 gates made of steel, and we're travelling right over the top of one of these gates, right underneath the water, underneath the boat now, called a rising sector drum gate, attached to these round wheels by boats. There are 6 of these in total. And also 4 other gates on the banks which rest above the water, one on the right hand side with a yellow strip in front, and there are 3 on our left hand side again with yellow strips in front, above which we have curved areas. These work differently, these lower by gravity but slowed down by hydraulic brakes. Satellites in space give advanced weather warning to the control tower behind us with the curved steel roof, giving 36 hours or 1.5 days notice of a forthcoming surge tide involving North Sea winds blowing very high levels of water all the way down the east coast of Britain, all the way from the north coast of Scotland, taking 19.5 hours for these high levels, slowed down there by hydraulic brakes. Then the outer of the rising sector gates start to be raised, one between Pier 3 and Pier 4 ahead of us, one between Pier 8 and Pier 9 behind us, and raised out of the water using all hydraulic equipment. One of them has been raised on our left-hand side, in fact, between Pier 8 and Pier 9. These are 31.5 metres from one side to another. Then the larger of the rising sector gates, from the outer ones to the inner ones, start to be raised. We can see one that has been raised now between Pier 4 and Pier 5, straight ahead of us there. And we asked the Thames Ferry if they could raise this for you to have a look at today. And they said, well, we don't usually raise gates just for people to have a look at, but we said we do have some very important people aboard actually, and they said, all right, just this once then. But at any rate, the defence position is not this position. This position we can see here is actually a maintenance position, which is at 180 degrees. But we can see below the gate is flat, and when it is underneath the water, that flat area is at the level of the riverbed. But the curved area then goes below the riverbed, and is actually rests above a bed of its own called a sill. These are made of concrete. They don't actually touch these sills, about 4 inches above the sills. But you can see the flaps below, which are open, and when they do rise up out of the water, because they are full of water, the flaps will then allow the water to travel out of the gates. So this makes them lighter, easier for the oil hydraulic machinery to lift. And the oil hydraulic machinery is in the larger of the steel roofs further behind us. And this then raises the rocker beams, these yellow beams, you can see we're approaching now. And these are attached by a link arm to the gate arm. On our right, for example, the link arm attaches at this end of the gate arm, and then goes to the top of the rocker beam. And as the rocker beam rises, therefore it causes the gate arm, as we look on the right, to revolve in an anti-clockwise direction. And inside the larger of the steel roofs, the hydraulic piston above pulls the rocker beam, the one below pushes, and when we see the round window, there we have a pivot for the rocker beam, so therefore causes the rocker beam to rise up.